Excellent. Goody goody gumdrops. We seem to have gone live, albeit a little early, but that's alright. So we'll just have a little bit of wait and see who clicks closer. Hi Sarah, hi Julie, thank you for watching. That's really lovely of you. Can one of you just comment and let me know that you can actually hear me? That would be wonderful. I don't know how many people are likely to join us this evening, but we'll just have a wait and see. Because I have gone a little bit early. And hopefully, Sarah, I'm back with a better imagery tonight. Hi Mary, thank you for joining us from Ireland. I hope the weather has been lovely. It's been beautiful in Manchester today. Not a drop of rain in sight, which is quite amazing given where we are in the country. Thank you, Faith. Good evening, and thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. That's always a blessing. Have I got everything? Yeah, I have. I think I might have everything all organised. I will wait a couple more minutes, though. It's not quite 5 o'clock. So, and it doesn't seem fair to start when I said it would be. I'd be starting at 7, and it's just before 7. So there we are. We're not making this one today because I haven't got enough of the papers. We're going to make a version of this today, so people can see how it's put together, because I think that's quite important, particularly if you buy kits from any company. It's good to be able to access support for putting stuff together again. Hi Kim, hi Jax, it's nice to see and hi Maz, thank you. It's great to see people joining in and beginning to watch what's going on. There we are. Cool. So, we're still just ahead of 7 o'clock, so we will be patient. So this is the Mad Hatters, Crafty Hatters Facebook page. I don't know how many of you have visited it before, but Mad Hatters Crafty Hatters is owned by the lovely Wendy McLaren, who lives up in Scotland and produces MDF. And the joy of having MDF is that you can alter it and decorate it in lots and lots of different ways. So it provides a really good solid base for what we're making. Hi Anthony, thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you're okay, and if you've been at work today, it's not been too busy or too silly with what's going on. Hi Sam, thank you for joining us. Right, lovely. So let me just pop that box safely onto the floor. Actually, no, we won't put it safely on as well. So when Wendy was on Crate Craft a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, she had these tunnel box sets, and they're big projects. So that's about 3 inches wide, maybe a bit more, and it actually is 2 boxes that are hinged together. There we are. So there's lots of space, and they take quite a long time to put together and to make, and the hinge is easy to do. It looks complicated, but it actually is really easy to do. Thanks Sam. No, I'm not nervous about doing the live. I've done enough of them. Putting the box together might be a different matter, because I've only ever done that once, but there we are. So that one's going to go on the floor out of harm's way, and I am got lots of bits here, lots of prep. So this is sort of where we're going, but because I needed to have a plan ahead of what I was doing. So let me just fish out some of these pieces, because otherwise we'll be in a pickle. I like to plan what I'm doing so I know vaguely where I'm going. Now these papers are Reign of Grace by Ciao Bella. What's better, darling? There we are. There we are. So we'll pop these pieces out of the way, and these beautiful MDF leaves are also from Wendy. She has fabulous embellishments. So let us start with one side. We'll see where we get to with one side, and then we might do the second side just today, or on the other hand we might do it in a week's time. So each side of the box has a base, and then one layer of MDF, another layer of MDF, and the top pieces. So that sort of makes life fairly easy, and it requires a little bit of thinking about for assembly. And then there are 4 pieces to make the box sides together, and it's easier to do like everything, it's easy to do things in stages. So we're going to build the base of the box, but I'm not going to put the hinge on at the moment, and I'm not going to decorate the outside of the box until I've got the inside sorted. So this is going to be the front of the box. Yeah, the front of the box. No, is it going to be the front of the box? Yes, this is going to be the front of the box. So on here, so it's going to be facing upwards. So on here you've got 3 and 2 little etched marks, and because I want these to this box to open this way, I'm going to turn it so the hinge, this is going to be at the bottom, so near the base, if that makes sense. And these are simple enough to put together with any PVA glue. I am using a quick grip one, and some of you will recognise who it's from, and I won't be saying the name because I'm not here to advertise glue. So we're just going to pop little bits of glue onto here and pop that piece into there, and then we have a top and a bottom piece, and these have male pieces sticking out as opposed to the side pieces that are female. So let us just pop some of this into here, which is always a good start. Yeah, because there's quite a lot of gluing, quite a lot of sticking. As I say, we might do this over 2 lives because it's a big project, and that's cool, because actually it's worth having projects that are slightly bigger, isn't it, to keep, you know, to keep us entertained, but also so we can have something that's really nice at the end of the day. So that's clever. I've just popped everything over where everything is. Don't worry, Faith, the live will be saved in the group. Your outfit measures the project. I'll let you into a secret, Jax. Quite often I've got a scrappy top on, or even a pyjama top, and my Pentart pinny. And today I've had a wonderful day. I've been out playing. Well, I went out with a friend, and then we came back to the house and we've been playing, and I've been making a secret project for a class that I'm going to be teaching as part of a retreat up on the Fylde coast at the beginning of June, which is all very exciting. And then I had a lovely phone call from Dali of Dali Art. I haven't heard from her for ages, and yes, Anthony, it is absolutely right, nice to take time with your projects. So that piece now needs to sit and dry, but that's okay. And just give it a little squash. You could put some tape on, I never bother, I'm never that worried. I didn't see the code for the page that you've just put on the page of CNC, so please Sam, put it in the group, in the live, so other people can take advantage, because it would be fabulous. So this piece of paper will go into here, but it doesn't have to fill the whole thing, but we'll come back to that one in a minute, because we've got, while that sits and dries, I'm going to pop that safely on the floor. It's just as well I've got lots of room on the floor, isn't it? So now we have our next pieces. So let us get these covered. So one of the joys of the reign of Ciao Bella is that they do 8x8, A4, A6, 6x6 and 12x12 papers, and you can get this box out of an 8x8 with a 12 but with an A4, and I have added some extra bits, it has to be said, from the 6x6 pad, which, although it says it's a creative and a fussy cut pad, actually it's got lots of beautiful backgrounds on it. Now, to be fair, you do not have to necessarily cover the whole of this, because it's going to be stacked underneath, so you could be a lot more frugal than I'm going to be. Okay, so Sam's just put up a code, Mad Hatter's birthday, which says to me that if you go on to Create and Craft, on to the brand shop for Mad Hatters, and put Mad Hatters goodies in your Create and Craft basket, then you will get 20% off the Mad Hatters part of that basket. And as it's free P&P, it might just be easier to go and do a Mad Hatters order with that discount code, which is fabulous, and then come back for the next one. But far be it for me to spend your pennies for you. That's it. Make sure I've got these round the right way. So I'm going for contrasting colours. Hello Sabine. This is going to be a very different make for you. This is definitely a almost pure scrapbooking project, right, or paper project. So ladies, in parts of Europe, anything made with scrapbook paper is called a scrapbooking project, whereas I think for us, for most of us in the UK, we would say that a scrapbook is for keeping your photos and your memories in, but we're using paper as the predominant feature for this project today, and not a bit of clay in sight, though I have got other things on the plan. So that's going to go over there. We'll give that a little squash down. Spread that about. I might have done that round the wrong way, but hey ho, it doesn't really matter. And then we have this piece, which is part of the A4 pad, creative pad, so that you can see how pretty the iconography is on this paper pad. It's gorgeous, but I wanted the paper. Now this one, I'm going to go around all the edges, and I'm going to deliberately do this bit first, because I know I can add extra glue when I come to put it into the box itself, and I just find that this is the easiest way of getting the middle piece out. If you just wanted to cut, you could draw around it if you wanted to, and then cut the image, you know, the central piece out, but I just found it easier, and I got a nicer result by doing it this way. So this needs to line up with the bottom and with the sides. We'll pop that down. We'll straighten you up, make sure you're up in there, and then that can sit there, and that way I can use those two pieces on a project as I want to. So that can go there. So there is our box. Now I happen to know, because I had a little play, that if I just pop this piece of paper in, the image I want in the centre ultimately is going to be hidden. So I am going to just chop a piece of this off. Actually, let me show you, it'll be easier if I do it this way around. So if I take my first small piece and a craft knife. Now bear in mind, ladies, that I used to be a surgeon, so I am very used to holding a craft knife in my hands. So do whichever works for you. Cut it to size, put it on, or not, as the case may be. The key is to have a sharp knife, not one that's blunt. It really is the key, and to swivel it around and to go in the direction that's comfortable for your hand, not to try being a contortionist, because we're not designed to be contortionists. There we are. Don't be tempted to pull at it, just go back in with your craft knife. I know Anthony has a pawn shop for Swan Morton blades, and you can just get a handle and a Hi Joe, thank you for joining us. It's really lovely to see you here. I'm getting, it's very lovely indeed. So this is, as I say, is Rain the Greys. Yeah, I think you have to find what works for you, and then I'm just going to give it a little sand to smooth out these edges a little bit on the centre, because that to me just seems like a nice thing to do, and just ease the edges it off. And I'm doing this one now because it's just going to make my life easier when it comes to placing that first piece of paper. And one of the things with this is that it's about layering, and so you have to think in layers as you go. Oh, I'm sorry. They are beautiful papers. They are very beautiful papers. But there are lots of beautiful papers on the market. So I've just got some Vintage Photo Distress Oxide. They do blunt quite quickly, I think, on a glass cutting mat, but they're not so expensive, and I just find them easier to handle. And the self-healing mats are anything but self-healing, so that's why I tend to use my glass mat. I find it easier for lots of other things. And of course, I've now got a shape here, and in your kit you get, you know, in the kit, when it doesn't say, oh wow, and these pieces aren't needed, these are the insert pits. So you've got your main tunnel box, and then you've got, there'll be six of these because there's 3 each side. So you've got all of these pieces. So you could build these up to make a triptych and just use some washi tape, and these are thick enough to add hinges if you wanted to with small screws. So you've got another few projects there. So although I think the tunnel boxes were that were a good value for money because of the size, when you think you've got the extra projects, they're fabulous value for money. Now this will sit into here, and in the kit are 8 of these. Joe, this MDF is incredible, and they are so well thought out. So these are spacer bars. So they're designed to hold things in place and lift things up so that you can build your layers, which is what creates your tunnel effect. So I'm just going to pop 2 of those into there. Now I know that this will sit into there, which is cool. There we are. So if I draw through there, that is going to be where I need my focal image to be. So if I eyeball that across there and take it a little bit further, I should then be able to pop another piece of the card in, or the paper into place, and have my focal image, the beautiful lady with the castle, just where I want it. So Joe, if you go onto the Create and Crafts website and put Mad Hatters B-Day 20 in, you'll get 20% off, and they should be there because they were on at the last show. Otherwise, if you go, I can't put a link up, but if Sam Lang probably can because she's watching, it's the Mad Hatters Laser Cut Laser Designs website, but these ones won't be on there yet because they were a Create and Craft exclusive until whenever. But yeah, so at the moment, if you want these, then I would go on to Create and Craft and order it that way because you're going to get 20% off them. And there are some fabulous tunnel cards. I might disappear into the other room and collect my tunnel cards in a minute. So that can approximately go into there. Let me just double check. Hey, I like it when a plan comes together. So that is going to sit on there. Okay, there's a piece of imagery. It is just, yes, the outside is 8 inches, the inside is just under 8 inches. Yeah. So the thing is, if I now glue this in, I can actually still work under this layer, which is cool. And I can pop what I want underneath into here to build my depth and texture up. Okay, so at this point I'm just going to pop that over there because we're going to build this in layers, and I have some of these add-on embellishments, and there's some chunky ones and some not so chunky ones. So let me just take some of these out. And obviously brown's a lovely colour. I like the colour of MDF, but it's not necessarily the colour I want for my project. So I have some chalky paints here, and the reason I've opted to go with these is because they're chalky. It means that I don't need to prime my surface before doing that. Excuse me. There we are. Yucky, sticky, messy. So I have a pine green chalky and a olive tree green chalky, which is a bluey green, because I think that this will work with the tones in the papers. It works. It's a nice mix. There we are. I'm really sorry if we're having issues with Facebook misbehaving. Now then, what did I put where? I've got all sorts of stuff all around me. Oh no, we'll still with that one. That'll be okay. So let's just. So I'm just going to colour mix these on because I know that I'm wanting to have them. And the joy of MDF is that it will, it just allows us to colour mix, and it gives us nice pieces, and I shall get some variation in colour. I wouldn't profess to be an artist. I enjoy what I make. It just allows me to have fun, and I can mix my colours, and quite happily to create my vines. So that's what we're going to do. I'll make up some of these. Now, I think it's easy, relatively, because I sort of know where I'm heading. It does of course make life slightly easier when I'm creating, but just, you know, it's about playing, really, isn't it? Well, it is for me, and say, having fun. There we are. So we'll just, and the sides of these are going to be almost impossible to see by the time this project is layered together, so it doesn't actually matter if I don't do the sides of these pieces, because as I say, you won't really notice it. I think they're a pretty good match. You know, am I lucky? Have I got? But you know, it's about using what's in your stash, isn't it? Because you know, these ones are pre-mixed and are good matches for my paper, and I've taken the lead from my papers. But actually, you could colour match your own. You take a bluey green, add some white, add a little bit of grey, add some cream even. Add a little bit of grey, and ultimately you'll build up a colour that you like. You know, the leaves and things aren't exactly all the same colour, are they? So this paint's quite thick. It does add a little bit of texture to my piece, but it's not an essential part of it, of what we're doing. So there we are. So let's just carry on. As I say, now then, ladies, I have no idea how long people want to spend with me this evening. Doesn't matter to me how long we stay on. It might get a bit dark in here. It won't get too cold because it's been red hot through the day, so the temperature in here is lovely. But if anyone's got a preference as to whether we spend more than an hour, or whether they want to spend less time, an hour, and then come back another time for another session, that's up to yours. I think the whole project will probably take 2.5 maybe hours, possibly more, possibly. I've done lots of the fussy cutting out. I'm sorry, Maz. If you have questions, then after the live, please just ask it away, because sometimes it can be quite difficult. We all know the vagaries of Facebook being a pain when it comes to things. Pentart will be very upset with me for mixing and dabbing my colours between the pots, but hey ho, I'll just make sure I don't use those on a Pentart live. But it's just allowing me to get the colours and the mixes that I want, and that's more important to me than anything else. You're happy to stay. Okie dokie. Well, I mean, I think television viewing on the whole is terrible, to be honest. It's never great, is it? Right, so let's just pop that into there. Let's lid these, and I'll give my hands a little wipe. Okie dokie. Julie, you're used to lives on another group that go on for several hours. So I probably won't be as long as that group, but who knows? Who knows? That might be tempting fate. Let me give these a blast dry, because I can't really put them into my project or start to layer things into my project with them wet. Yeah, the MDF has, hang on a minute, in answer to that question, because it's quite difficult. So if you look at the MDF, it has this side that you can see the colour from the heat of the laser. That's the correct side, it's smoother, and on the other side it's slightly duller. So if I put, so I think it's obvious there. So this is the side to paint. It won't matter if you paint the other side, it just tends to suck in less than if you use that side. It's Medi MDF, so it's slow volatiles, hasn't got nasties in it, so it's not on, you know, it's nicer for and safer for Wendy when she's cutting it. It's also quite, you know, so it's worth having. And as you can see, yes, I've chosen a chalky paint. Is it to paint on the side of them? You mean this bit, Anthony, rather than that bit? Just no brown paste. No brown paste inside tonight. So if you mean the sides of the MDF, if I'm painting something that's going to be very pale, I actually take a baby wipe and I wipe the outside of my MDF. To be fair, MDF cut nicely on low power doesn't have a lot of black burn, and Wendy's doesn't. You know, some of the cheaper MDFs, if you take a piece a baby wipe to their edges, let's find something with a straight edge, and rub along it, you get black. Now I'm getting a little bit of brown on my cloth, but I'm not getting the you know, huge amounts of black soot. But if I'm painting something pale and I've got these brown edges showing, I will give them a really good wipe to get rid of as much of that as possible, because otherwise I find it takes a good few layers of paint to cover that up. And then I would tend to, oh, there's one that's gone missing, but hey ho, we'll not worry about it. So give it a good wipe. Good well cut MDF that's not been done at a high temperature actually has minimal char, minimal black stuff on the sides of it. I'm not sure I've got any badly cut MDF lurking to show you the difference. Or not that I can get my hands on, but the key is good quality MDF in the first place that hasn't got lots of char, and you file them a little. Okay, that's a suggestion. I've never tried that one, so that we'll come back to that now. I had 3 of these. I know I had another piece. Oh, it's over there. Right, so let's just cut this down. I have seriously got stuff every which way at the moment. There we are. I will concentrate while I've got a knife in my hands. Chopped finger, apart from making a mess, won't be very good for the project, and I don't wish to have any of you ladies or Anthony passing out because I've covered myself in blood. And even though I am very happy with the craft knife, you know, we all know in reality accidents can happen even in the best of hands. There we are. I might need to change my blade in a minute, looking at the way that that's cutting. There we are. So, one good use for files, manicure files. I'm doing the cog box tonight and tomorrow, but in a style that's quite different for you. I look forward to seeing it, sweetheart. I have a cog box to make, and I have got some plans for that, and maybe that might well appear on a live. Well, it will appear on a live, I think, on probably Crafting Together with All Plans. So that one is going to sit on there, but we'll also have some spacers into here, so we're going to build our layers so it makes life easy, and you can see how much depth you have. So the reason I'm doing it in layers is actually, if you try putting all of these pieces in when it's all put together, you'll struggle. she says, quite happily. And there's a good amount of depth. Some bits you'll be able to push in, so I'm just going to tuck that up under there, and I've got some bits of flowers, so I can shape these. I'm going to go give them a little edge, and I can pop these underneath, and I have some glue gel for doing that with. So I've got one of the cog boxes, and Sam and I have been talking, so I know that what I'm planning is completely different, so we're going to pop that underneath there. I don't really think I need a snail. There's a beautiful snail in this collection of papers, but I don't really think I need one of those from there. So let's just pop that into there. And I'm going to be building this up and adding my layers. So this is why you'll see why it's easy. And I have sort of, as you were aware, pre-planned some of this activity so that I knew where I was going and with what I was doing. Again, because I think it's helpful to have things pre-planned. And yeah, that's an extravagant amount of glue gel, but hey ho, it allows me to pop that in at a jaunty angle. And remember, I'm going to have another layer on here now, so I don't need to have everything fixed in place. So that can now have some glue added to those. I'm lost without fanfare. Yep, there are 6 tubes of it on the side. There's 3 as a minimum at all times in my house. I love heavy body gel. I'm not going to say I don't, because I do. But the glue gel's density just grabs in a way. And it doesn't matter which side you put these support struts. It's not going to interfere with the process, so that one can go into there. Cool. And remember, I'm just going to rest that one into there, and I'm going to add my next layer. Okay, so I think I might want some of my leaves. So this is a long piece. We're going to pop it over. What did Dawn do when she was changing a blade? Chop a finger off. So that piece is going to pop under there, but you'll still be able to see lots of the other pieces as they poke through. So in this 6x6 pad are lots of imageries, these little castles. I'm using quite a lot of artistic license when it comes to perspective, so that can go into there. And we have a different, they're beautiful, beautiful imagery. Yes, well, these things are sent to try everyone, aren't they? So we're going to pop that one there. And we've got some flowers. We've got lots of images. In the 6x6 paper pad, there are 3 of each sheet of the fussy cut elements, or the elements for you to fussy cut out. And what I would say is that I cut out 2 sheets. And I'm rather hoping that I won't need another set, because I don't scan and cut them. Now when I'm building my next layer, I'm going to be putting this sentiment into here, so it doesn't make sense for me to fill that area up. And this is what it, you know, this is part of building a multi-layered piece together. So we might just pop that into there because I think it's going to look nice. Tucked under there. So in my atelier box I used resin pieces when I was doing you know, filling in. The violin is lovely, lovely. There might well be, you're going searching for this kit, okay. So we'll just add that one there. Let me see what we've got. Are we happy? We need something tucked into here, so let's just, you see, not everyone is safe let loose with a craft knife, Anthony. You know, you and I are quite happy with a craft knife in our hand, she says, licking her fingers and transferring all sorts of stuff. There we are. So let's just add artistic license, an extra flower over there. Now then, we have a little lock can go up there, and I think we might have another one that's going to go on the front of there. So because I'm building this in layers, it's quite easy to over egg the pudding and just put too much stuff in. Now if you like more is more, fill it up with more as you want. The choice is of course entirely yours. That's the whole joy, isn't it, of crafting for yourself. So that one will sit into there. And while I can, and because there's a bare space, I am just going to pop that up under there, because later on, by the time I've got another layer, I will struggle to get anything into that. So let me pop that over to the side. So that is building quite happily. I do have some faux flowers and things, but that I may or may not use. It was undecided. Now then, the issue for this one is a little bit more complicated because I've used the A4 paper, and I need the whole piece for covering the box. So I'm just going to use that edge, pop that there, and I've got a metal ruler clearly for doing this, and I lined it up on those edges intentionally. That piece can go in the bin. We'll pop that over there. We do have a bit of rinse and repeat, I'm afraid, because we've got another side to do, but we'll see, we'll see. We're okay, I think. We're making reasonable progress. There we are. I am definitely going to have to go and get a new craft braid, because that is I can feel it catching. They're not very far away. There we are. And pop that over there. And those pieces are of course usable for other projects, so they're not waste. And there we are. And what I didn't do was ink the edges of that, so let me just pop those in, because I can see that I didn't ink the edges, which was not intelligent, but hey ho. Yeah, well, absolutely. You get a nice clean edge, you don't waste the paper, you cut what you want. Thanks, Jax. Yes, the papers are truly beautiful, it has to be said. They are Reign of Grace by Ciao Bella, because I don't, much as I love my Stamperia papers, some of you might not appreciate what I'm about to say. I've seen so much of the imagery already that I am not, that is going to, it is going to slot nicely into there, and I will cover up the edges with some paint. So that is the top layer, and I've just literally just slotted that in at the moment, and that's fine. So I now need, I think, some more greenery. Don't look now, but this MDF is breakable, so I can now put a vine up there, and a vine up there. So let me just glue these into place. It's a bigger section. I don't understand. Am I missing something? Possibly. So that can then go into there. That can go into here. And that piece can sit into there. So you can see that I'm just building up bit layer by layer a composition that is making me happy. Okay, so we're going to need a few more pieces, and I am going to lift that off for the moment while I pop these in, because I know that now that I need to focus them around here, which is cool. What have I just done with that? I don't know whether that was the same one. So this is a sentiment that comes from the collection, talking about the Hobbylicious violin. There's several companies that have done violins, I think, to be fair. I know that looks like a big blob, but I want it to sit here, and I don't want it to go saggy. And if I just pop that into there, I can shovel it down a little bit. Excellent. Good. So we can shape this. Anthony, you're being very naughty. So that can go there. But it wouldn't be you if you weren't being. And that might be just a little, if I pop that here, we're going to lose that flower that I've tucked in between there. So options, one, lift that up, lift that there, and now that works for me. And this is the advantage of me using the glue gels as opposed to ordinary PVAs, allowing me to lift things up and pop them in different areas. Right. So what do we want? I think we will have a little padlock. That's very much about artistic license, license, because I can't really see that they have, but it works, and it's going to fill that gap in nicely. I've got some bugs which will again help to fill in some of these pieces. And all of these little areas are just adding an extra bit of dimension and interest to my project. And the shape of the box and the spacers are what are allowing me to add all of these layers and the shaping to what I'm doing. There we are. So that can go there. Perhaps we'll put him around the bug round facing the right way. So that can go into here. Add some dimension. And I think I might pop some more pieces in. You can see that if you're not careful, it becomes increasingly difficult to tuck things in. So just be aware when you're building things up, these up, that you just need to be thinking about how you're making your composition and what you're doing. The colours are nothing to do with me, Julie, apart from the fact that the flowers are, and I just felt that this would work for here. So let me just, there we are. And we're going to pop that into there, and we might add a little butterfly for good measure. So there we are. We're building our pieces. That can go there. We've got a butterfly or two. There we are. And that little butterfly can sit on there. So, box lid can now go on. I will be adding paint around the outside of my box. That might have to wait, because these pieces are going to be not so easy to move about until the glue's had a chance to dry. But this is definitely the easiest way of constructing putting it together, is layer by layer by layer. There we are. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam. That's not nice to hear for anyone to have to cope with. My condolences to everyone who's affected. There we are. So this will, if I line it up properly, just now slot into place. You can see that it's slotted in. So I'm going to pop that off to the side, because I've got paper that's lifting up there. Let me just shovel a bit of glue extra under it, because it needs to dry before I can add the next one. There. Okay, so that's that side one and the floor. So, side two. This is why this is a big project, isn't it? Because and we might need to do a bit more painting of those, because I don't think I've got enough painted there. But that's fine. I apologise for that one. Let's just pop these pieces out of harm's way. Let's just take all of this lot, tuckle it out the way, pop that piece over there. And he's terrible. He's like, Oh yes, there. 1, 2, 3. There we are. So we have all of our pieces. So when I put, let me get it, this box together, the top piece, I made sure that these pieces had the etched line towards the back. For the second box, the etched line needs to be to the front, if that makes sense. Okay, nothing has moved, that's always good, because otherwise the two hinges don't align very well. Okay, so you just have to remember that when you're putting these together. That's going to be the right way. And it would be moderately disastrous if you got it around the wrong way, having decorated them all and then having to take the whole thing apart. Would not work very well. Though, to be fair, you could just cover the sides of each box and have them as standalone shadow box, tunnel boxes, without having them hinged. You would just need to fill in the holes, or cover the holes. Yes, absolutely. That's a good way of putting it. Only some, they don't quite line together, or mine didn't. But yes, they should be at least close to each other. And it worked for me that way. So there we are. And that sort of description makes sense, that they need to be facing each other. There we are. This MDF is beautifully cut. Yeah, there are, and I'm not going to name any kits, but there are definitely some where possibly it's the way my brain worked, was to work it, you know, and it works for each of us, doesn't it? So I think your way will work for some people. The very visual me, I have to see what it means rather than anything else. But yeah, I think it's all things for all people. There we are. So this MDF is beautifully cut and locks together really nicely when you line it up properly. There we are. It just reassuringly clunks into place. They are indeed. Now, that one can go to the floor, because it is, I'm afraid, rinse and repeat. But hey ho! Right, because that's the way it is. And make sure we get these around the right way. And we'll carry on, because we're actually making quite good progress. I have to, you know, I think what I would say, ladies, is that I sat down and I worked out what I was going to do and how I was going to do it, and cut out all of my elements. And I think if you are making one completely from scratch and haven't had the time, you know, including thinking time, cutting out time, messing about, changing your mind time, etc., you're probably looking at 4 hours, 5 hours. It depends very much on, you know, on what you're wanting to do and how many elements that you're wanting to put in, I guess. There we are. And it's quite good to see the whole process done more than once, because that way at least then you can see how they go, how it works, which is also a cool Anthony, I'm very sorry. Yes, of course, and you, but there's not that many male crafters come and watch my lives. I have to say, you are always very, very good at coming and watching what I'm doing and supporting me in my crafty world of madness. It's a crafty world of madness. It is. I'm just honoured that people are prepared to come and spend a Saturday evening with me, because sure, I mean, I know television viewing is distinctly suspect. I get that. This is another one of these beautiful double-sided papers that I'm now going to promptly... I'm going to pop it that way. Because that means I can use these elements long term, and I will be able to rescue that one as well. Yo, the floor is only so big. It's a pity that was a design fault with the floor, but there we are. Throw things on the floor, why not? There we are. What the other thing I would suggest is if we weren't on a live, is to cover everything a bit more glue. This glue will hold, but the idea of painting glue onto everything in the middle of a live and me having revoltingly sticky hands all the way through was one step more than I could cope with. Good, yeah. The PVA glue will spread about, won't it? Quite happily. As you do it, but you just need to make sure you've put a reasonable amount, particularly around the edges, because it's the edges that get caught and scuffed if you're not very careful, isn't it, rather than anything else. But a lot of it's going to be protected in this make because of the way it's constructed. He's not a bad lad. He's a very good lad, is our ant. If it wasn't for the lovely ant, then I would have definitely still been struggling with lives and technology. The only reason that this looks as it does for me here, with me inset into it, is because I'm using a system called OBS, and the lovely Anthony spent ages and ages while we worked out what was going on. Let's go back to Mr. Turquoise Green and these, because we will need. That's not the pine. Let's get the same ones that we were using. There we are. Because I just think these are to keep it consistent all the way through. There we are. You will be pleased to know that at some stage I will get my beloved crackle out. Where's my nice... Oh, there we are. That wasn't the pen. There we are. That was the one I was using. Because I think a project from me without crackle is probably unheard of. So, am I being extravagant? Possibly. Possibly is the honest answer. I have used an entire pack of these leaf embellishments for my make. Make of that as you will. But I just felt that they add something to it. Thank you, Anthony. It's definitely got better. It is definitely got better. I'm less phased when things mess about. I even managed to reload one of my one of my cameras today, having deleted it by accident. User error, but I've managed to sort it out, so was super impressed with my ability, my technical skills being somewhat challenged. There we are, let's just pop those together. So, you know, if you wanted to make these all entirely realistic, you could do. But they're a suggestion of a leaf, and our eyes will read into things quite happily. So there we are. We've got some nice colour variation. And because of the way I do it, I was pants. There is no question about it. My ability with technology, was distinctly limited. And horror of horrors, I've discovered reels recently. So we're getting there, little by little by little. Cool. Let's pop that over there. Rinse and repeat. So we have the same issue for this imagery, because on this paper pad all of the focal imagery has been popped out to a side, and I want it near the middle. So we're going to go back to the same approach that I did the first time round. And it's just about being systematic and logical in what you're doing and the approach that you're having. Because it will just make life much easier. Art stones everywhere. Part of secret project that I'm not allowed to tell anyone about, but we'll be teaching on the Fylde coast in the not so distant future. If anyone fancies a weekend away at the seaside and some crafting classes. Yeah, they're definitely going to need a new blade in a minute. There we are. Cool. So you could actually take a piece off each side of these if you wanted to. I'll know that it's missing in my project, but if you were really needing to, then then you absolutely can. Hollywood awaits, not a chance. Definitely not going to be getting on a plane anytime soon. Yep. So we're going to do what we did last time, so I can more easily centralise what I'm doing. Okay, so I know that I want my late girl with her book in the centre, so I can eyeball this. That will work, that will work, that will work. So let's take that piece off there. Try and get rid of some of the stickiness off my hands. It's too far away, Amber. The headache with anything like this is that whatever you do, you're going to have someone who can't get to it. And the further away you go from home, the more the costs are for the organiser to organise, if that makes sense. So if I chop off, that will work. And then I've got the Once Upon a Time for elsewhere. So it's just difficult to, yeah, I don't think we'll ever get to be able to hold a retreat where everyone is happy, where we're, it's just not possible wherever you are in the country. And that's of course one of the benefits, isn't it, of being able to, let's just pop you down a bit so she's not, yeah, one of the joys of being able to do things online is that you've got the benefits of the classes, because I could stand at the front of a room and teach this quite happily. Yes, I'd go round, I'd make sure everyone was happy and the rest of it, and we'd have a little, we can have a bit more of a chin wag, and you don't have to wait for me to look at a screen to say hello or welcome or answer a question. But there we are. So that's going to sit there. Let me ink this before we've got. But at least with the online platforms, which didn't exist really for doing things like this before COVID, are allowing people to access and learn, which is, I think you have to look at the upside of things, what's happened in this world, don't you? There we are. There we are. So there we are. So we're going to do that building process. So what do I want? I think we might pop, yeah, we're going to pop that over there. Now I'm going to take off just a tiny piece off there because it's not going to be seen. There we are. And I'll be able to use that tiny piece elsewhere. So just because it comes in a set format does not mean that's how it has to stay. Sam, I mean, I would have to say that it really is only relatively recently that I've become anywhere near happy with technology. It's been definitely not my bag. Right, excellent. So I'm going to glue this one in. I don't want a huge amount on that bottom layer, and I know that I will be able to tuck some things in, providing I don't go too mad. As we lay things up. Yeah. So that can go there. That one can go there. I'll just move all of these cut imagery out the way. I have to say, Sam, that I am very definitely only just getting used to technology. It's definitely been a learning experience. Has all of it been enjoyable? Probably I would say not. Well, definitely I would say not. But, it is part of modern day life, isn't it? And if older ladies than I can get their head around it, then there is no reason why I can't at least try. That can go there. Get rid of the paint off there. Let's just have a little file of that. I like using your nail files because they're little, they're cheap, they're disposable, and they fit into nooks and crannies quite nicely, which is always an advantage. Sam, you're a very beautiful lady, so you absolutely don't need to be saying that at all. I have to say that that is my instinct, but those nice people at Pentart, bless their cotton socks, or not as the case may be, didn't want their lives to be faceless. They wanted their viewers to and their customers to see the faces of the individuals, so that it wasn't a faceless advert or process. And so there we are. Excellent. So let us have a play. I think that was going that way. So let's have a little play. So we're going to pop that one in there. So my compromise for my mugshot being on air, on view, is the little face in the corner. So that is the tiny piece that I pulled off that other one. Rather than it going to waste. And I've got plenty of pieces. I probably won't use all of these. There we are. Cool. So let's just see what we've got. So we've got another one of the houses. It's different to that first one, and we're just going to build up a sort of scene along the bottom in a similar way. I have another sentiment cut. This is from the A4 pad, so that will sit in there with the next layer on. I think I might not, I've got a tag, but I think I'm going to leave that out, and a whole mountain more flowers. So let us have a little play, because this is just all now about play, assembling stuff together, putting it how you like it, not being, too fussy. Just, this is about what looks nice to your eyes. Well, more than anything else. And there isn't, I think, a right, and I don't think there is a wrong in this either. Thank you. It's interesting because the minute I saw your make with this tunnel box with the Magic Forest, I absolutely loved what you've done. But my head went immediately to this set of papers. Now, I appreciate that they may not be so easy to find in the UK. I know PI sell them. So they are available in the UK, and you can buy them, buy them direct from PI. So that's entirely up to you. Mine actually came in from a craft company based in Ireland. There we are. So we are literally just building our layers, our pieces, filling in the gaps. And all of these are the pieces from the collection. Yeah, there's nothing here that isn't from that paper collection. Again, partly I think it's important because I think it's very easy for people who yes, Sam 14 Craft Bar is exactly where they came in from. You know, it's difficult enough, and I know that I've got a huge quantity of product in my craft room. I'm not going to hide from that. I have, but I do think it's not what's available to everyone. So I do try to limit the companies that I use on any one live, out of respect to everyone's pocketbooks as much as anything else. I think I'm going to pop my little butterfly down there now while I can, so it's watching. Let's just add a blob of that. And that can tuck into there. Did I glue that in? Answer on a postcard, no. We'll get rid of that. I'll put this onto here. And that can go into there. Let's straighten that up because that will irritate me long term if it's not straight. There we are. Cool. Now then, we have another piece to go on the top of there. Let's just pop that over there. There it is. So you can see that actually for a big project, yes, it's going to take time. I'm not going to say it's not, because it clearly is. It's not a 2-minute make. Actually, it'll come together quite nicely. Just with okay. Aha, there we are, you see. I'm sure my squirming face when I can't see things is a very attractive knot, but hey ho. It's not too untidy, so we'll there we are. So that piece will slot onto there ultimately. So let's just ink the edges of that, and we're going to pop the title in place relatively now so that we can see what we're doing. There we are. So now I've got some blank areas again. So I'm going to pop that into there. but I actually want to pop that piece a little bit further forward because I want it partly over my book. There we are. And I'm going to pop that piece into there, and I might not have the other one, the remaining piece in there, so that piece can go up into there, so it's covering that. So what have we got? We've got another butterfly. I had got a tag, but I think if I pop that in, I'm going to lose the sentiment. I'm going to cover too much of that those other pieces that I really like. So we're going to have a little rethink on our feet of that, just because I just think it's going to look nicer without it, if that makes sort of sense to people. So that can go there. Yeah, I love pin flare. It's now making my hands very sticky. So let's add some more of these beautiful floral elements, because we've got lots of them. So we can pop. I do have another one of these to hand, it has to be said. Thank you, Anthony. So it is just about playing and layering, so that can go into there. How many people use one whole tube of pin flare on one project? To be fair, this was not a new tube, and I am being very generous with it, but that's partly because I'm wanting it to stick while I move stuff around. So that can go there, that sits there. And what else have we got? Now in this paper pad there is this cute little slug. Quite why it's in there, I've no idea, but I think he's quite cute. And I'm actually going to attach him to the back of this, because we've got lots of surfaces, haven't we? That might prove slight, because I'm going to have to wait for it to grab. There we are. Let's just lift that up, because that's where we want it. So that can sit there, that can do that. So we've got a few little, well, there's lots more flowers and things in this mix, to be fair. We can carry on quite happily adding to this. There we are. I'm glad you like it, Anthony. I have to say it's coming together quite nicely. I'm quite happy with it. I know poppies don't go on vines that are hanging down, but hey ho, that's what we've got, so that's what we're going to use, because why not? That will tuck underneath there. just pop you onto there. If I'm quiet, I'm eating. That's okay, don't you worry. I had a lovely breakfast this morning. I went out with Liz, Liz Wheeler for breakfast stroke brunch, and then had a scone while crafting with her later on. So I have not had tea, and methinks I don't need anything else for the rest of the evening because I've significantly over munched as it was. Right, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's get this piece on. As I said, I did and ah about adding faux flowers into here and moss and things, but actually I just think it looks nice without the extra bits and pieces. So minus bits and pieces is what it's going to be. Oh, yeah. I just now need to line that up and let it stick into place. So we now have 2 boxes. Hey! I do like it when a plan comes together. Oh! And you could add bits of glitter, you could add all sorts into here. So this is the front of my box. So let me show you how because I could carry on and on top of the front of this, adding more layers and embellishments. When I want to, do I? Yes, it's put together properly, she says. Going. So in your kits, if you get them, you will find these pieces, 4 little circles. Get rid of the little bit in the middle, and 2 little wooden dowels. We're going to be losing the light, aren't we? Excuse me, ladies. The camera might wobble. Let's see if that will sort itself out. Refocus. I've just put my overhead light on. Just bear with. It will sort itself out because I've just swapped to. That's better. I've just literally put my camera on because I've lost the light in my room. That's better. Okie dokie. So in here you have these pieces, 4 of these, 2 of these. Good, thanks Anthony. So I think those pieces are sat in there solidly enough. So let us, where have I put my glue? So we need to pop 1, and then when it comes to decorating these and painting it, you just need to find a small brush. But for me, it was easier because the MDF swells. It's easier to construct this bit before I paint everything, if that makes sense. So you can't see what I'm doing. I apologise for being off camera. So those pieces are going to go into there. She says, getting rid of that. just as well as the correct number of pieces, isn't it? Because I didn't count them before I went live. So these pieces are going to go into here. And they really need to dry before you go fiddling. Alright. But there are some pieces that we still haven't decorated. And I've chosen to keep this really quite simple. So this is going to be the inside of the box. So this is literally a sheet from the 8x8 paper pad. Let me show you what I've done. I have fussy cut with my knife around that bird, and then taken from the 8x8 pad, front of the 8x8 that. This comes from the A4 creative pad and the lady. So before I glue that in place, I am just going to ink around here, and then I can put some glue. And that will then sit underneath there. So one way of doing it, Sam. I think you just have to find the system that works for you, don't you? I've got some very fine detail pens, detailed brushes, and I managed to get in without a problem. But I think it is just a question of working out what works for you. I know I'm sloppy when it comes to paint, so I tend to end up with it every which way. There we are. So all I'm going to do is add my little lady. I'm going to add a little bit of shading around there and around the bottom, and I will ultimately edge around the whole of my box with the vintage photo. So it doesn't matter if I'm not terribly precise at this point. And this now needs a good amount of glue, because this will be a contact point and get handles. Did you not think I'd manage? I don't know, how long have I been going? I don't know. It's Ciao Bella, Reign of Grace is the name of the paper range. And because these are 8x8 papers and it's an 8x8 box, that will just neatly sit into there. So let's swap that around. And for the back of the box, I'm just going to protect that, because these are poking out further than the end of the box. I just need to lift that up while I do this. So same sort of concept here, 8x8 paper. I've cut into it so I can slot my pieces in. So let me just edge these. Oops, she says. So that's going to go there. My arch is going to go there. Tucked underneath there. bad. That is not bad. Well, I know I had chopped everything, lots of the pieces out, but even so, I'm super impressed with that. Right, we can edge that with ink afterwards. She says half a jumper in that. Doesn't matter which way you do this, to be fair, whether you glue the paper or whether you glue the MDF. It's going to be stuck on the MDF anyway, isn't it? So now, ladies who were watching the Stamperia live yesterday with Dawn Bibby using the mixed media glue, you could use your mixed media glue for this and it will brush out quite easily. So if you bought it from her, then it will work. But find the glue that you like to use and stick with it. There we are. Give that little wiggle into place. I've got sticky, mucky hands now. So we've got our two pieces and the three pieces, these two slot in when you line them up to those, and you can then see straight down the hole. So take one of the little bars and it will wriggle through quite neatly. And then you want the glue only on the outside pieces. You don't want it to stop the bar moving, it's just to stop it slipping out. So that's going to go there. So a little bit of glue onto there. Wriggle it into place. We'll turn it up. There we are. Just make sure we're in line for you. So those are lined up nicely. Wriggle and it will go through relatively easy. You can see that it's bobbing up and down for me, so it's moving quite freely. Take your little stopper . Don't push it through too far. There we are, line those up. And do the other side. Okay. Now at this point you can clearly carrying on adding some embellishments on the front, and that looks quite nice, and being slightly careful because I don't know how solid those in. I can clearly put something bigger on this side or more dimensional in there if I want to, but I don't. Okay, so those are in, but that will sit very nicely across the front of there. So let's just add that piece onto there. Because it will work sitting there. And we can carry on and add more pieces as we want to. But I'm actually going to leave that like that. Now the eagle eyes around here will have noticed that I haven't A, had my beloved crackle out, and B, have not decorated the sides of my box. and I am conscious that this is slightly unstable because of the fact that we're having to do it. Part way through, and that's not clicked into that one properly, so let me just give that a good wriggle and get it into brute force. There we are, brute force and ignorance is a joy. There we are, that's clicked in, they're all in. Okay, so we're just going to open that up. So I have some cracking paint system. And I quite like the natural colour of this. So I don't mind the brown showing through. Is my crackle. So this is the Pentart cracking paint system. And we might have to do this. I'll do some of it probably now, so that you know how it's going to go. But I might do some of the sides off camera and then post it in the group once I've done the sides. Hopefully tomorrow. Might not. I'm doing an online class with learning how to do some Coptic stitch binding tomorrow. That'll be interesting. Me with a sewing needle out. That's a beloved friend for you. But it's so important that the creatives support each other. Because if we don't support each other, A, it's a very sad world, but B, the skills that people have will get forgotten about. So this is a 2-part crackle system. So if I will this might prove a challenge for those hinges because it needs to dry. There we are. We don't really want it gooped together, do we? She says this is easier said than done. So if I wasn't on the live, basically what I would do is do one side, walk away, let it dry, do this, do the next step on that side, come back and do the next bit of it. But needs must. So this is a heat stable system, unfortunately, so I just need to waft this for a wee bit. Let me just move that into there. We'll do the 2 sides and then I'll do the rest of it off camera. The only thing I would say is if you're heat drying this, then just try not to bubble the step 1 crackle. Don't leave the heat gun in any one place for any length of time, because it won't like that very much. But it doesn't take a huge amount of time. Well, so much for it taking 2 lives. That means I'll need to come up with another plan for a couple of weeks' time then. I do have other kits. You could do the tunnel box. I haven't got any tunnel cards left. I did those the other both of those for samples earlier, but got some plushes. I've got violins. What else have I got? I've got some toadstools and things, I think. Well, I know I have. I will come up with a plan. So I think Sam will do a live when she's able to, and then I will do another one after that, and then hopefully what we could, we'll have a plan to try so that we can get a live, at least one live each a month, and possibly more, time permitting, because as you're aware we both do lives in other groups. So yeah, I think that, you can see that even though it's a big project, and I'm not denying it's a big project because it is. Now I would probably just leave, that's tacky touch dry, so I'll accept it might not crackle brilliantly. 1 to 2 weeks time. Cool. Well, Sam, when you're able to do it, because as I say, we all do stuff elsewhere, don't we? Right, let me just turn that. Right, so this is the Pentart Crackle paint system, so I can just literally, it's a chalky based system, so that can go onto there. If I distress the edges of it, it's not going to worry me. I'm going to go around with brown ink anyway. There we are. Doesn't matter whether this is completely smooth. It does help cover up things. There we are. And some of these paints are have been open well over a year, so they should still crackle. Never known them not, but there's always a first in this world, isn't there? In the middle of a live will be just when it would happen. There we are. Let me just pop that down. Let's give that a heat set. Where do you find the time for it, Joe? I do sleep. I sleep very, very, very well. At least 8 hours a day. I think I just think about it, what I'm doing, quite a lot. So when it comes to actually sitting down to craft, I actually then know where I'm going. I hate to think of the amount of things I'd do if I had a double, or was genuinely cloned. I'll lift this up to the camera in a minute, because then you'll be able to see just how well this paint does crackle. And ladies, I've got some, well, I don't know whether you consider it good news or bad news, but I had a lovely conversation earlier on today with Dally of Dally Art, who's been a long-term friend, and they've changed plans. She is moving north to join her new partner, which is wonderful, wonderful news. And she's instead of closing, she's relocating the business, and I may end up helping her out when she has to go out to Canada to look after her parents. So you can right, let me just turn that and de-stick that whilst the going is good. Because otherwise I'm going to be in a sticky mess. So we will still be able to get, she says now she can't find the paintbrush she used, but hey ho, let's just grab another one. Maybe not. There we are, that's the one I want. So although while she's reducing what she has in terms of Pentart products, she's going to have what she and I consider to be the core items in stock, and more will be published and found out about probably in June. There's some bits and pieces that need to happen, like big move, ahead of that being possible. There we are. Did I put, I can't remember whether I put crackle on both sides of that. I think I did, but it doesn't feel like I have. So if this side doesn't crackle, we'll know why, ladies, because it doesn't feel like I've put crackle crackle on both of those. But we'll soon find out, and it won't be a problem. We can always re-crackle over it. Yeah, I don't think, maybe I did. It is cracking. I did put it on, just maybe it's sunk in a bit more. I like all forms of crackle, that has to be said. I like all forms of crackle. So, I will tomorrow crackle the remaining sides. I just need these to set properly before upending it all. But if you look, you can see how well that crackle paint crackles. So I'm going to lie this down, having not got glue on stuff I don't want it on. Let my glue gel dry thoroughly, and then I will paint the rest of it. And I have got some more bugs and butterflies, so we might yet find that we have, in fact we are going to pop that in. You see, this is what happens when I craft, you know, I then sit and fiddle and play. That'll be fun. And this is why it's easier to do these things before you have them set, and when you can get into them. Let me just let that go. There we are. And we've got some butterflies and bits and pieces, so we can add if we want to. There we are. You see, you just then carry on playing until your heart's content, because why wouldn't you? There we are. There we are. Because that's now the front. We can leave that onto there. So ladies and gentlemen, because we cannot forget the gentlemen, we must not forget the gentlemen. There are plenty of male crafters out there. We just need to respond to and look after and recognise, don't we? You see, I'm fiddling, aren't I? We're fiddling because we have to. So, I hope everyone has a good rest of the evening, that you rest well, and that you have a fabulous day tomorrow. When I can, I will, as I say, crackle the rest of it, and then I will photograph this, and I will probably do another reel, because I think that will make life easier. But for now, that's all I want to say. So good night, sleep well, enjoy your day tomorrow. Bye.